G'day, so today I want to talk about my splitting axe collection, and this is after 5 years what I've narrowed my collection down to. Tried a lot of different splitting axes, and the ones that work the best tend to stay in the collection and the ones that don't tend to get sold. So here's my review on them. So these are the 6 splitting axes I use, ranging from £3 to £7. Some of you may be asking where's the Husqvarna if you've been a subscriber for a while. I wouldn't really count this as a dedicated splitting axe, and you know, it's a good general purpose tool. If you're looking for one axe just to have, because you don't split much wood and you just need a generally good tool, you can't go wrong with Husqvarna. It's a £4, nice and easy to swing, splits well. It's got a hardened pole for driving wedges for when you're dealing with like much harder stuff. It also chops pretty well and is pretty much indestructible. So it's a great thing to own if you just want one axe. Great for running with a chainsaw, professional work, you know, and also amateur. So the one I use for the heaviest and most knotty work is this 3 kilo German Maul. It's got a really nice big pole for driving wedges, and it's got a really fat profile which really works well on knotty woods, particularly green softwood, but it handles pretty much all woods really well. It can be a little bit bouncy on some of the really hard like woods like beech, but it works very well despite that. Probably my top pick is the Ochsenkopf spout fix. It's a bit lighter at 2.5 kilo head than the Maul, which makes it nicer to swing for a longer time and a bit nicer for dealing with the smaller stuff as well. It's a good general all-rounder. It handles most woods very, very well, and is a bit less tiring to swing than the Maul. Both the Maul and the axe are also sold by Stihl. They're just painted red. You can see the profile is a little bit thinner than the Maul, but it's still a thick splitting profile. The collar is very nice too, to help with overstrikes. For splitting smaller wood, stuff that splits easy, or just general lighter work, this Muller splitting axe is very, very good. You can swing it one-handed for breaking up smaller stuff like kindling. Just a really nice companion for one of the bigger ones. It splits all woods pretty well because it's got this flared profile. It doesn't tend to get stuck either. So as a light splitting axe, you can't go wrong with one of these. Quite a few companies sell them. You can have ones from Muller, Brandy, Helco. Quite a lot of different places sell them, but they're all pretty similar. I used to own one from Adler, which is very, very good too. It was that good that a friend at work bought it off me. So those 3 I just mentioned are probably the top picks. They're, you know, the ones that you can't really go wrong with. But now I'm going to talk about the other 3, which are a bit more niche. This Ochsenkopf Bavarian splitting axe is one of my favourites for particularly ash or beech, which is straight grained and a little bit dry. It's still quite heavy at about 3 kilos, so not for everyone, and it is very, very sticky on a lot of woods. But on straight beech or ash, it's fantastic. It doesn't bounce as much as some of the other Mauls because it's got a very thin profile. and is excellent for driving wedges. It's my favourite wedge driving tool because of the ash handle. The ash handle absorbs a lot more shock, and it has a really big pole, which makes hitting the wedges easy. The last two splitting axes are both vintage American style felling axes. You can see next to this council tool, they don't look that different, but the devil's in the detail. The vintage axes are so much less sticky and better at splitting than any real new production axes. You can see compared to this council tool how hard it is to extract. The stickiness is why a lot of people don't like splitting with felling axes. Now, if you try a vintage one, particularly Braid's 1562 or Eagle Edge 1562, I don't think they can be beat. I even rate them higher than a lot of Tazzys. So you can see this is why they're so much stickier. Modern axes have flat cheeks. See how the wood is touching all of the bit? Compared to the vintage, it only touches the middle. Older axes tend to have convex cheeks, which make them far less sticky. So I have a 5-pounder on a 32-inch, and my wife likes to use this little 3-pounder on a 28-inch handle, which is great because I'll generally split the bigger stuff and she can break it down a little bit further. So while I'm splitting this large round, I just want to talk about some of the options that exist out there and why I don't rate them or don't like them as much. Particularly Swedish style splitting axes. I think they're designed mostly for splitting through the side of a log. Traditionally they'd cut like metre lengths and then split them through the side. I don't really rate them that highly for splitting chainsaw cut rounds, mainly due to the very small edge length. They're quite sticky, and in general, like the Mauls tend to have very small poles, which makes them pretty much useless for driving wedges, whether felling a tree or breaking up a round. The gransfors Maul is a very different design, and I used to have one of them. It was actually probably my favourite tool that gransfors made, and was a lot better. It had a lot bigger pole than the Husqvarna or hults bruk option, but it was still fairly small, and I still preferred my German type Mauls. Another thing I stopped using is double bits, just purely because of tripping hazard. It's very easy to trip over and fall on the back of a double bit, and I quite like my single bit anyway. With a nice pole, it's perfectly balanced for the flick technique anyway. Another axe that I used very briefly was the Fiskars X27. It was pretty good, but it did break quite suddenly. I think that was a materials issue. In any case, I wasn't really a fan that much of 4 pounds on a 36-inch handle. I just felt like it was too light a head on too long a handle, for my preference anyway. I mean, I am very tall at 6'4", but just wasn't my bag. In general, I prefer a 32-inch, just for my style of splitting. There's a lot of other axes, of course, I haven't used, but in general, if you want good splitting axes, stick to Germany or Austria. They know how to make a good splitting axe. Anyway, I hope that was informative, and any questions, please leave a comment.